What's good, y'all? It's your boy Mixtape Moth. Please hit that like button and the subscribe button, as all of that goes a long way. But today, I decided to revisit a Drake album. Why? Because a really good Drake album had turned 10 years old this week. Nothing was the same. Drizzy Drake, the man needs no introduction. Now, this project, Nothing Was the Same, was his third studio album, which had dropped back in 2013. It's a project that is one of my favorite Drake albums, and it's actually the one album from Drake that made me look at him a little differently as an artist, and actually made me embrace his music more. Because I'll be honest with y'all, I was very slow to get his buzz early on, but this album did change things for me. But I'm just gonna be talking about the original version today. That is the 13 songs before the deluxe tracks. Now, recently on social media, we learned that this album was intended originally, to be played in reverse, meaning the Pound Cake would have been the first song, and Tuscan Leather would have been the final one. Just a little interesting fun fact. But with that being said, let me go ahead and just hit y'all with this track-by-track breakdown. The opener, Tuscan Leather, is a 5-mic song that is one of the hardest openers of the 2010s. And if you like rapping Drake, where he's getting surgical on a track, then this is one of his best. It's 6 minutes with 3 beat changes. Now, the first 2 have the Chipmunk soul chops that you could expect on an old Dipset album, which was pretty cool. And the third beat had more of the futuristic synth melody. You had a Whitney Houston sample, as well as Curtis Mayfield, and even a brief vocal snippet from Capadonna. On this one, Drake is flexing his skill set, really going off. I'm tired of hearing about who you checking for now. Just give it time. We'll see who's still around a decade from now. So he wasn't lying. There really hasn't been a time since Drake came in the game where he wasn't relevant. Whether you love or hate the man, it's true. So as a whole, this was an incredible first track that I see no flaws in. Track 2, Furthest Thing, is a silky smooth melodic record with 2 beats, and it's a standout from the album. The first instrumental has some twinkling synths that are very wavy and flavorful, while the second beat has this epic soul chop that you would swear came from Just Blaze. It's just that fantastic and glorious of a soul beat. It's so good that even Drake declares, this the shit I want to go out to. Play this shit at my funeral if they catch me slipping. All in all, it's a very melodic track that blends his rapping and singing quite well. 40 and Jake 1 were indeed in their bag on the production front, especially on that second beat. Next was the commercial anthem, Started From the Bottom, which was a huge smash. But I ended up liking it because of its motivational theme and because the production was a bit dark. The piano loop was skeletal, but the 808s gave it that knock, and it was sort of the style of production that we would see on Drake's follow-up release. Yeah, I know everyone knew this song, casuals loved it, and it was meme-worthy too, which got a little annoying, but it is a banger and kind of hard to hate on. After this is Wu-Tang Forever, a record that I liked for the title, and due to the chilly atmospheric backdrop that just sounded like it was geared for the rainy fall weather. Now, having a song with this title really resonated with me as a Wu-Tang head. Although Drake did some singing and relationship talk without mentioning the Wu, but the inclusion of the It's Yours sample really made it pop. And to keep it a buck, I did look at this as a big deal back in 2013 for someone of Drake's commercial status to shout out the Wu so blatantly. As I said, it's mostly a singing track, but he does rap towards the end, even interpolating some of Raekwon's iconic opening lines, machine gun rap for all my dudes in the back. I don't know. Maybe I had the bar set really low for Drake at this time, but naming a song after the Wu, it just kind of sealed the deal for me. Then this track just flawlessly blended right into the next song, Own It. It's a record that I don't necessarily love, but I did like how the It's Yours chorus continued into the track, almost as if it was a blend on a DJ tape. This small detail was really important for me as someone who likes the whole album experience. Like, you could tell Drake and his team really cared about sequencing on this album. Now, I do feel this track dragged on a bit too long, and I tended to skip it shortly after the first minute mark, but some folks might really like this track. Following this was the club banger Worst Behavior, a song that I vividly remember people turning up to in the club, getting all belligerent, shouting, "Motherfuckers never loved us." And even though it was super commercial and the casuals likely loved it, there was still a darker and moodier quality to the production that gave it the edge for me. What follows is the sentimental track From Time with Janae Aku. Now look, I gotta be honest, this is one of my favorite songs from the album. I know, it's kind of like a guilty pleasure. And I'm not typically into, the relationship vibes on songs, but I feel Drake went a little deeper here, and I love the piano sample, and Janae Aku really came correct on the hook. I'm talking, she bodied it. Drake did impress me with some of his thoughtful introspection and vulnerability. In particular, like the following lines always stood out. "I want to get back to when I was that kid in the basement. I want to take it deeper than money, pussy, vacation, and influence a generation is lacking in patience. I've been dealing with my dad, speaking of lack of patience. Just me and my old man getting back to basics. We've been talking about the future and the time that we wasted. When he put down that bottle, girl, that dude's amazing." Like, you can't tell me these aren't heartfelt and introspective bars. Immediately after was Hold On, We're Going Home. Okay, this was a pop smash that I did not care for at all. It's the one true automatic skip for me. I guess the inner, hardcore hip hop head in me just like the blatant pop reach. I just gotta keep it real. Some may like this, but for me, it was too poppy, too sappy, too casual. Track 10 is Connect, a song where I'd say Drake wears his Houston rap influences all over his sleeve, but in a good way. We get this slower rolling atmospheric production, chopped and screwed vocals, and Trey the Truth's swanging sample, or should I say the one that Trey flipped from the classic Houston song 25 Lighters. I did like this song because it was vibe heavy, and I could personally relate to Drake's affinity for Houston. As I had mentioned on this channel before, it is one of my favorite cities to travel to. But there were a couple cringy bars, like when he said, "She just want to run over my feelings like she's drinking and driving in an 18-wheeler and I'd allow her." Right after is the eerie banger, The Language, which had this late night creeping through the city type vibe. It's a suspenseful beat, a catchy hook, and it had cool braggadocio throughout. Yeah, I had no complaints with this, and I would view it as one of the better bangers on the project. What follows is 305 to My City, which transitioned very smoothly from the preceding song. Now, this one did have sort of that woozy Travis Scott feel instrumentally, in that it was chopped and screwed, ethereal, and psychedelic. The beat was very spacious, but the bass was crazy, and as a result, I would say it did kind of give off that strip club anthem sound. Then there is Too Much with Sampha, a real highlight where Drake got deeply personal, opening up about his anxiety, dealing with fame and some family struggles. It's a record that likely connected with a wide range of listeners, as he talked about relatable themes such as overthinking. And I'd say Sampha came through with a very stellar hook, just crooning his heart out in a soft but striking way. And this album wraps up with the 2-for-1 gem, Pound Cake and Paris Morton Music 2. This was a mixtape banger and one of the most talked about songs on the album at the time. We had this very dark but luxurious sample-based production with that wu-tang Cream sample that you can't go wrong with. And like some of the other instrumentals on this album, this also had that chilly fall-like feel. This, of course, featured Jay-Z, who gave us 2 verses that were pretty well praised at the time, but let me know in the comment section who y'all felt had the better verse. Then the instrumental for Paris Morton 2 had an atmospheric boom bap beat that was very sophisticated sounding, and Drake's flow here did give me slight Lil Brother vibe. On it, he was reflecting about being overlooked in the industry. Despite his great status, he still felt that people were trying to Lil Bro him. And there is some good storytelling on the back end. So overall, I'm gonna give this project a rating of 4.5 to a strong 4.5 mics. Does this album reach that universal classic or even personal classic status for me? Not quite, but it's a very great Drake album. Now, at the time, it wasn't rated all that high from what I can remember, and one could even say that it was slept on. But it's a project that has really aged well over the past decade. After revisiting this some years later, I feel that this album really showed Drake at his most artistic and creative. Also, when he was at his most focused on giving the listeners a sonically cohesive project that played really well from front to back. In recent years, Drake has gone more for the playlist approach, which is a trend that I haven't liked, to be honest, since I tend to prefer the whole listening experience of an album. But yeah, let me know in the comment section if this is a universal classic that should be regarded in the same light as like Kendrick's To Pimp a Butterfly as far as newer albums go. Or is it just a really great Drake album, or is it a personal classic to you? But it's your boy Mixtape Muff. I'm signing out. As always, it's peace and blessings. Drake, 10 years later, nothing was the same. One.